Hello everybody, welcome back to my Daily Dose with Tim. Today is, it's doing that thing again. So maybe Facebook did some adjustment. All of a sudden, boom, you didn't see the before thing. Now you're seeing just what it is now. Anyways, welcome back to my Daily Dose with Tim. Today is season 2, episode 34 already. And that also means that we are at part 4 of the same topic, which is the 5 different factors that determine your credit score. So originally I sort of planned it so that it's 1 factor per day for a whole week and it seemed pretty perfect. However, yesterday we covered 2 factors just because they were fairly straightforward and easy to understand. Today we're going to go into the 5th and the last factor, and as you probably already saw from I believe that would have been episode 31, some of the comments from Colby Turner. He is one of the mortgage brokers that we have been working with for years now, and he actually already contributed and typed out how your credit scores are calculated, how they're weighted based on each factor as well. So make sure you go back to that. And this is why over the last few days, I've got a lot of you guys messaging me going, where did these videos come from? Because I understand that a lot of times when the video is shared, it doesn't actually tell you where the video originated from. So once again, if you like to follow and like my page, it is simply facebook.com/thetimtai. So the and then my name. And so that makes it fairly straightforward for a lot of you guys, and I really appreciate you asking, because what that really means is you are finding the content valuable, and I'm only making valuable content based on your suggestions and your recommendations, and more importantly, your questions. So what you want to see, let me know, okay? So the other thing that I've also noticed, because some of you guys are asking, hey, you mentioned that you were going to tag the links or the book recommendations or something that I've referenced to. However, you're not able to see it just because when the video is shared, all the comments in the original post don't get shared automatically. So make sure you come back and find those as well. So without further ado, we're going to go into the 5th and the last factor that determines your credit score. Like I said from the very beginning of this topic, right now what I'm sharing with you, generally speaking, it works for Canada and the US. However, I also understand that in parts of Europe as well as Australia, New Zealand, and parts of Asia where you actually also already have Equifax in place, they do use very similar factors. However, I've also heard various countries, they have credit scores of 600 as a full score, whereas right now we're dealing with a full score of 900. I've also heard credit scores, a full credit score of 1,200 points as well. So again, the idea is though, regardless of what kind of full score scale you're working with in the country that you're from, my understanding is really that these 5 factors really are fairly universally applicable. It's just that maybe the weight in which they take every factor into consideration could vary as well. However, really, after going through all the 5 different factors, I'm pretty sure you're getting the general idea in terms of how you can actually improve your credit score if and when you need to. So the very last one, as I mentioned now, the 5th factor is what we call types of credit. So types of credit could actually mean, for example, a mortgage is a type of credit, because by definition, a mortgage is a loan that you take out specifically from a lender, and that's been secured against a real estate or a piece of property. Or you can have a personal loan. And when it comes to personal loan, it could be a personal loan directly and slash or. I'm sort of talking like I'm writing something these days a lot, it seems. So it could be a personal loan or a personal line of credit. So the major difference a lot of the times between personal loans and line of credit is the fact that most of the times, if you are able to set up a line of credit with a lender, you are only debt servicing based on interest-only payments. And that also makes it a revolving credit because every time you pay the principal back as well, you can actually dip back into that. You don't have to reapply every single time. Whereas a personal loan, a lot of the times, it's a set amount right from the beginning, and your repayment plan is oftentimes not interest only. So on the flip side of interest only, it usually means you're paying down both principal and interest at the same time. And as you knock down the loan, you actually don't regain any sort of credit limit to reuse. And those are the main differences between the two different things. However, we're talking about mortgage, personal loans, line of credit, and then you go into home equity line of credit. Or again, some of you guys call it overdraft or property overdraft or equity release, depending on where you're from, okay? So home equity line of credit is a very general term for us Canadians here, and I know for my American friends, you also use home equity line of credit. Or if you want to sound a little smarter, HELOC, if you will, HELOC. It's really just how we pronounce the acronym, basically. Home equity line of credit. So that is something that, same thing, it functions very much like a personal line of credit. So by definition, when you take out a loan against your home equity line of credit, whatever loan that you take out, you have an interest rate that is set on top of it. And typically speaking, when it comes to your debt servicing payments, and the frequency could vary as well. And so what that means is you would be paying down interest only. You don't have to pay the principal down if you choose not to. Okay, and there's usually no clear end date to that. And obviously, if you're a mortgage broker, if you're a banker, if you're a lender, you might contest that theory a little bit. However, theoretically speaking, there isn't really a set end date when you're dipping into any sort of line of credit, other than the fact that if you have to renew your mortgage, and as a result, you have to potentially renew your HELOC. It's not something that's very commonly known or talked about, but it has happened. So just make sure you understand what you're signing up for as well. So the point is, okay, we have all these types of credits and loans that we can dip into. And like yesterday, we spoke about credit cards as well. All these things, okay? They are all different types of credit. And what I like to compare different types of credit to, a lot of times it's kind of like having different references. So let's say if you're the lender and you got tons and tons of money you want to lend out, and somebody is making an application with you, you want to assess, as the person who has the money, you want to assess whether or not they've got a good grasp on the experience that they've had on handling different types of credit. So again, I gave you a bucket list of those as well. And on top of that, a lot of us, we can basically add in department store credit cards. I mean, it's not something that I put into the bucket earlier because it's not something that I really encourage any of you to get, right? Because it's always do that. Or you can get a car loan, or you can go to electronic shops and you want to buy new home theaters, maybe new computer equipment, whatever it may be. Okay, so those you also have that kind of that type of credits as well. And so most commonly known, we call credit cards a revolving credit, for example, and oftentimes your car loans, your regular traditional mortgage and personal loans are what we would call installment loans. Meaning, again, you get a fixed amount from the beginning that you take out. As you knock it down, you just are knocking it down. You don't regain usage and access back into the credit, okay? Whereas revolving means once you pay it down, you can use it again. You pay it down, you can use it again. And so, again, the more different types of credit that you've shown experience in managing when somebody else pulls your credit report, the more confidence in general that they would have. Obviously, the condition being that when I pull your credit, even though you've got experience in multiple types of credits, I want to make sure that you have not missed payments, you've never been delinquent, or the fact that you've just got a good general history, okay, in terms of debt servicing, and you're dealing with it well, and you're not, definitely not going over your utilization rate, as we spoke about as well. So that is the last factor of it. So this is why, again, a lot of the traditional thinking when we were taught, you know what, don't apply for loans, don't borrow money if you don't have to. You know what, on some level, that is actually not going to be serving you when you're looking to get access to credit. Remember, we keep on saying this. If you're an investor or a business person, the very basic mindset that you need to always have is the fact that when it comes to credit, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And so that being said, because one of the biggest questions from a lot of you guys over the last few days also, and I wanted to wait till today to address that, is, okay, well then if I have multiple cards and multiple loan products, for example, and I have zero balance on those, meaning they're just kind of sitting there, they're active, however, I don't owe any money, I haven't taken any money out yet, didn't borrow anything, why shouldn't I close it? Because I've heard that actually hurts my credit score. I'm just gonna tell you, based on the last factor we just went over, I personally don't believe so, and I've spent the last few years looking for answers as well. So a lot of the questions that you guys have had and you've asked me about, I've spent years looking for the same answers as well. And this is why I'm sharing with you everything that I've been taught, I've been told, and this is the most up-to-date information that I can give you. It's the fact that you don't want to close them, really. And some of you guys saying, okay, but then at the same time, I've also heard that if I don't use it and for too long, then it really definitely hurts my credit score. Then you know what my suggestion might be? For example, if it's a credit card we're talking about, easy. How many of us actually shop online these days, right? Before this whole thing happened, I used to go to Starbucks a lot for all my meetings. I always joke that I pretty much, like in some of the major cities in the lower mainland Vancouver, in Edmonton, in Calgary, in the Toronto general GTA area, all my Starbuckses are my offices. And I used to put a lot of money on my Starbucks cards. But the point is though, if you're worrying about that, well, instead of putting money onto your Starbucks app, for example, next time you buy a cup of coffee, just swipe that card. Bring that card out with you and just swipe it. It's a $2.50 coffee, and then guess what? Mobile banking. Go onto your mobile phone right away and then make that $2.50 payment. And then that's it. And then you let that card sit on the side for 3, 5, 6 months again. If you're worried about the fact that it could potentially, again, remember, not confirmed by any of the industry professionals. However, if you have that worry, that's an easy solution. And like I said earlier, before COVID happened, so if you're not going out to buy small items, well, these days, I think we all shop online a lot. You can probably buy a $10, $15 item maybe on Amazon, whatever it is that you're buying. Okay, so just make sure, the point is, if you're worried about it dinging your credit score negatively, then just make a purchase once in a while. And we always say that every 6 months you actually get to call up your lenders, your bankers, your credit card company, and you can try to raise your limit. And it doesn't mean that you'll always get it. However, every 6 months, we do encourage you to do that. So what I would suggest is that if you're going to be swiping that card and making a payment immediately using that formula to maintain that account, I would say just do it once every 6 months as well in this case. All right, so I hope that actually wraps up the 5 different factors that determine your credit score. And guess what I'm going to ask you to do? Today, I'm going to ask you to go and pull your credit score and credit report. So if you're in Canada and the US, yesterday I've already shared. I'm not talking very well. I'm speaking very well tonight for some reason. I would like to ask you to go onto one of the websites that I've commented on the post and pull your credit score and your credit report for free. And if you find any information on it that is not yours, guess what? Tomorrow I'm going to share with you how you can actually fix that. Yesterday I did briefly go over some of the steps. However, tomorrow I'm going to go over it step by step with you all. So with that said, thank you so much for joining me again, and thank you for your questions, for your encouragement, for ideas for topics, and for, most importantly, sharing the knowledge, sharing the content, and sharing the message that I want to put out there for everyone. So I really appreciate that. And keep sharing, keep liking. This is the only way that this message can be spread as widely, as much as possible. So thank you again. I appreciate you. And with that said, have a great evening, everybody. I will see you back here tomorrow. Live well.